Hey everyone, welcome back to the combo counts with Bizzaro. Now, yesterday I made a video about certain things you can do with this deck. Now, what I decided to do, I think it's only fair that I show you what's in my deck for today. Um, this was mainly, most of these cards are from the structure deck Rokket Revolt, which is really cool because I've tried out the deck. It's pretty interesting. But inside I'm giving you the ratios of what I would do as well as what you can do with certain cards and combos. So here we go. First things first are the monsters. And I organize these cards. So what I would do is I'd run 3 Rocket Tracer. What it does is it's like Salamangreats, like I've said before, like Salamangreat Gazelle, but for rockets. What it does is it can target one face-up card I can control. Keep in mind, it's not monsters, not spell and traps, it's any face-up card that you control, including itself, by the way. Destroy it, and then you can special summon one rocket monster from your deck, except Rocket Tracer. Then you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except dark monsters. So what you could do, you could, well, if you have extra deck monsters from the structure deck, most of them, well, all of them basically are dark. But if you do add anything else that's not from the structure deck, make sure that it is dark. For instance, Nightmare Phoenix, if you're destroying spell and traps, or Cerberus, depending on what attribute it is, if it's not dark, you can't use it. But some of the new cards I'll show you later, but for instance, Borlo Dragon, he's dark, so you can use him. You're allowed to use him since he's a dark. Anyways, so I see 3 of him because he's very vital to this deck. And also you can use the other effects from other cards to either special summon him or add him to hand. So I think he's very important. On top of that, we would also need 3 new cards called Bizzaro Dragon. Now, Bizzaro, if you control a rocket monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. For instance, if you have Rocket Tracer in your hand, normal summon him, you special summon him. As you can see, he has 1200 attack, 28 defense. What you do with that is fine. And you can only do this once per turn this way. If you tribute summon another with this later on, you can do that as well, but this way you can only do that once per turn. If this card's sent to the graveyard, whether it be anyway, basically, it doesn't say if it's destroyed, which is an important thing to remember. You can add a rocket monster from your deck to hand. For instance, you could target Rocket Tracer in case you don't have one on the field, or you can target another monster, which I'll mention later. But yes, these are also Dragon Shrine targets because they're all dragons. Most of these cards are dragons anyhow. Just about all of them are. But Return of the Dragon Lords, that's an important thing. Rocket Synchron, you could use him for an effect. You can do different things with these cards. Here. Alright. Next up, by the way, all these cards are new. I'm going to start limiting certain cards in a minute, but for now, everything's 3, because some of these cards, like Rockets, they special summon each other during the end phase, which is cool, but at the same time, if you don't have enough monsters, you're basically going to run yourself out of defenses, and then you're done. So, this is a 60 card deck because of this reason. Anyways, we have Silver Rocket Dragon is the next card we're talking about. When a Link monster is activated that targets this face-up card on the field, whether it be anything, you can destroy this card, then look at your opponent's extra deck and banish one card from it. Meaning you could just, if you got a Kugari from a Sky Striker deck as from your opponent, you can get rid of Kugari, banish it. Also, if you have Storming, well, if you have some cards to bring back cards that are banished, that's really good. And one of the new boss monsters from your extra deck that comes with the extra deck actually gains 200 attack for each banished card. So that's going to help you with the banish. And then during the end phase, if this card's in the graveyard because it was destroyed on the field by battle or card effect and sent there to this turn, meaning if it's linked off or something and not used via card effect or battle, its effect will not go off. But if it does go off, you can special summon a rocket monster from your deck, except this one. of this name, Silver Rokket. And you can only use each effect of Silver Rokket once per turn, meaning if you have one on the field and then like two on the field, one goes to graveyard via battle card effect, this one goes off, that means that's it for that one. And you can't use another Silver Rockets effect again. But on the other hand, I think Silver Rocket's pretty good, especially if you have other ways of using these guys. If you guys have any questions for me, let me know. Please subscribe if you have a chance. Next monster we have Magna Rocket Dragon. When a Link monster is activated that targets this card on the field, quick effect, you can destroy this card, then send one monster on the field to the graveyard. That's pretty good, because especially if you have certain cards that can't be targeted by, that can't be destroyed by battle, and they're really big beat sticks, you can use its effect, and yeah, and also it's good so you can use its own effects to destroy itself, and then you can use its later effect later on, because if it's destroyed by card effect, doesn't vary from opponent, but you can do it on its own effects, so that's really good. During the end phase, if this card's in the graveyard because it was destroyed by the field by battle or card effect, again, mentioning that, and sent there this turn, meaning you have to do it this turn with any of these effects, you can special summon one Rocket monster from your deck except Magna Rocket Dragon. So you can special summon Silver Rokket, Rocket Tracer, as long as it's as Rocket in its name. But you can't be in Magna Rocket, at least this turn. Alright, that's pretty good. Yeah. Now we're limiting things a bit. For twos, we have Auto Rocket and Shell Rocket. These are the final bits of... These are some more rockets first today. Let's look at Auto Rocket for a second. When a Link monster activates, this card activates targeting this face-up card on the field. Quick effect, you can destroy this card and send one trap on the field to the graveyard. Spell or trap. Which is good. For instance, like let's just say you have summon limit on one side of the field. That's going to come really handy, especially if a Link monster targets this. You summon this. You do something else to bait out your guy. You can use this, destroy it, activate its effect, destroy summon limit, or another card that's very pesky, like spellcasters. Like the Secret Village of Spellcasters, that's pretty annoying too. But also the end phase is basically the same thing as long as you activated its effect early on, and there's still more stuff to do. Shell Rocket, as you can see, it's a little bit more of a beefier defense, which is very good. Anyway, but the only difference with this one, when this is activated, if this is targeted by a Link monster, what it does is you can destroy this card and destroy one monster in the column of this card. So it depends on where it's going. Oh, sorry, monster. There we go. Yeah. And then same thing goes for those rockets. Now, we also have other cards to make extenders going. We have Defrag Dragon and Gateway Dragon. Defrag Dragon's basically Apprentice Illusion Magician, but for dragons. You just discard one card, one monster from your hand to graveyard, and then you can special summon one that way. And then I guess you can normal summon another one if you had two of these in your hand. That's pretty cool. If this card's in the graveyard, you can banish 3 monsters from your graveyard with the same name, except Defrag Dragon. One card from your extra deck's really going to help you out with that, because more banished monsters, the more attack it gains. So, Defrag Dragon's okay, but its other effect can be very damaging, especially if you need vital cards from your actual deck to use, unless you know what you're doing. Then you have Gateway Dragon. If your opponent controls a Link monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Gateway Dragon from your hand once per turn this way. Also, once per turn, you can special summon one level 4 low dark dragon monster from your hand. So if you have Gateway Dragon, and then you have Silver Rokket and Absol Router Dragon, You can you can normal summon Gateway, special summon Silver Rocket, and then special summon Absa Router because you have a rocket, and then this because you have that. So those are really good to remember. And then finally we have, and then finally for our one ofs, before we get to hand traps, we have Metal Rocket and Rocket Synchron. Now let's get to Rocket Synchron for a second. I know this video is getting a bit long. When this card is normal summon, you can target one level 5 or higher Dark Dragon monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position, negate its effects, and destroy it during the end phase. You cannot special summon monsters from the deck for the rest of this turn except Dark monsters. So Rocket Synchron is a good monster because you can bring out Absa Router when you always get rid of it each and every turn, or whenever you get rid of it. You can always recycle that card and use it for its actual effects. So that's actually pretty good. But it's destroyed, meaning you have to get rid of it soon as well in order to get it do its justice. And then Metal Rocket, you can destroy this card and destroy all your opponent's cards. It was basically Auto Shell or Shell Rocket Dragon, except you can destroy all in the column, meaning spells and traps and monsters. And then same thing goes with the effect for special summon a rocket from the deck. Now we're moving, and then finally for the monsters, we have one Ghost Ogre and some Effect Veilers. Now, I'm a little bit of a budget player, and I don't own much hand traps, so that's fine. But so far, these are not once per turn, so you can use those pretty well. And then Ghost Ogre for spell and trap effect. Already face up on the field activates its effect. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, destroy that. And then field activation for a monster. Now, let's get on to the spells. Now, what's important for this deck is to get your rockets out. So in order to do that, you get some Boot Sector Launch. I feel, since there's not the Link monster to search this one and recycle it, we need to have 3 of these. So it goes like this. All rocket monsters on the field gain 300 attack and defense. You can activate one of these effects per turn. It says that later on. Special summon up to 2 rocket monsters with different names from your hand in defense position. For instance, Rocket Tracer, Silver Rocket, any of the rockets as long as it's in your hand. Up to that amount, which is good. Or if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, special summon rocket monsters with different names from your graveyard up to that difference in defense position. So not only are you getting monsters to link off with, but you're also getting them in defense position in case things can't go off. You have things to hold your life points together. So that's very good. I'm doing these in piles, so I'm not confused. Next, we have 3 Quick Launch. By the way, Quick Launch is not once per turn. By the way, you can special summon 1 rocket monster from your deck, but it cannot attack, also destroy it during the end phase. So if you have 3 of these in your hand, you can get out 3 monsters right away. Also, if you have Absa Router and Rocket Tracer, you can do some more shenanigans of your own, if you remember their effects, by popping one of them, special summon not Rocket Tracers, Absa Router Dragon, and then you can keep on going and going. That's good. And then their effects also go off if they're destroyed by card effect as well. So keep that in mind. So that's another good thing. Then I run 2 Squib Draw. Target 1 rocket monster you control, destroy it, and if you do, draw 2. So it's kind of like a pot of greed, except you have to work a little to get it. And also the rocket monsters go off, as always, and you can only activate these once per turn. It's good to have multiples of these, but if you see too many of these and you don't have much rockets in your hand and there's no way to get to them, they're just walking there and holding you up. Next, we have Return of the Dragon Lords. Target 1 level 7 or 8 monster in your graveyard, special summon it. If a dragon monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Meaning, if you want to keep your board, this can save them. Also, Absorouter Dragon, another way to bring this back, since it's a level 8 monster, I believe, or 7, it fits in its criteria. Yeah, it's cool. You can resurrect one of those monsters really well, as well as other monsters, because there are monsters in this extra deck. One monster in this extra deck that is a level 7 or 8. I think it's a level 8. All right. Then we have 2 Dragon Shrine. Guard Dragon players know this card very well. Send 1 Dragon monster from your deck to your graveyard. Then, if that monster is in your graveyard, is a normal monster, you can send 1 more Dragon monster from your deck to your graveyard. You can activate this effect once per turn. So you can use Absorouter as the main target in this, or any other Rokket. They'll activate their effects, but Absorouter will do something right away and send more material to your hand, which is very important. Then, if you also do Return of the Dragon Lords, you should also get said monster back as more defense for yourself. Then, as a staple, you always need 2 Twin Twister. I would do 3, but there was a time when it was causing me to brick hard. And I had to scoop because I had too many of these in my hand, nothing I could really do. Discard 1 card, look up a stew spell or traps, destroy them. Self-explanatory. And you can do that multiple times, but why would you? Then 2 Polymerization. You do have fusion monsters in your extra deck for this, because it's actually pretty cool. Self-explanatory. Then we have the one-ofs. We have Boral Regeneration. It's like a Call of the Haunted for certain monsters, but if it would be destroyed by card effect, the monster would be banished, and then if it's destroyed by card effect, and it leaves the field that way, you get to draw a card. So that it's like a Jar of Greed because of that. That's cool. Then you have your polymerization of this called Rapid Trigger. But instead of it being from your hand, they both have to be on the field. And then they would be destroyed. Destroy them from the field, send them to the graveyard, summon your fusion monster. And yes, you do have a Borreload fusion monster, which I'll show you in a minute. And then obviously you have Monster Reborn. We all know what that does at this point. Everyone should know what that one does at this point. And as for the spells, finally for the main deck, we have the traps. Magic Cylinder, I run 3 because this is actually pretty effective. Mirror Force can always be negated, but this is a little bit more damaging to your folks that are playing against you. Basically, if someone tries to attack you with a really high number, you can just go, no you, and they take that damage instead of you. 3 of those. That's cool. Red Reboot. Now, these come in the new structure deck, 1 each, so that's another good reason to get these. Yeah, it's a common, but hey, it does this. When your opponent activates a trap, negate the activation, and if you do, set that card face down. Then they can set 1 other trap directly from their deck. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, your opponent cannot activate trap cards. And you could also activate this from your hand by paying half your life points. So it's like a solemn judgment in a sense, but at the same time, you gotta make sure that you know what you're doing with this. Then we have, I'd run 2 Storm Dragons Return. You can target 1 banished monster, special summon it from your field, but return it to hand during the end phase. You can only activate 1 per turn. That's good, because certain monsters can be banished with this deck. If you want one of those back, you could just activate this, bring it back, and then you could either add it back to your hand or extra deck to make sure you have it next time you want it. Then there's something called, one of the new cards, 0 Day Blaster. What it does is you tribute 1 Dark Link monster, which basically are all of them, then target cards on the field equal to its Link rating, destroy them. So if you have a Link 4, Link 3, you can destroy those as well, like Borreload Dragon. If it's on the ropes of being destroyed, you can just do this, destroy Borreload Dragon, and then as a result, destroy up to 4 cards your opponent controls. Most people wouldn't resurrect that from that. Then we have 2 Trap Tricks, Trap Hole, Nightmare. When a monster you control that was special summoned this turn activates the effect, negate that effect, and then if you do, destroy that card. So, it's kind of like a Recall or a Dark Bribe, but for monsters. It's really good. Then we have 1 of Unending Nightmare. Many people should know what this card is by now. You can pay 1,000 life points, target one spell or trap on the field, destroy it. You can activate this once per chain, meaning not once per turn, but once per chain. And as long as you have enough life points and you know what you're doing, this is a good card. I only run one, so I don't really get myself screwed over. Then we have Drowning Mirror Force. I don't run regular Mirror Force, but it just shuffles all back into the deck. And in case you don't have any monsters and this is all you have left, Drowning, this has saved my rear end many times. Then we have Solemn Strike, pay 15, negate a special summon or a monster effect. Yeah. And then negate the summon or activation and then destroy it. And then Crackdown, steal a monster from your opponent's side of the field, and then you get to keep it on this side of the field, on your side of the field, but it cannot attack. And then if this card's destroyed, it goes back to your opponent. So that's it for the main deck. Then I'm going to show you my side and extra deck. So, first things first, let's show you the link to. Well, let's show you the links. So we have Booster Dragon from Dual Power. That's where it originated from. Link 2. You have people, for those who watch Guard Dragons. I'm only saying these for those who don't know about these at all. I run one Booster Dragon, 2 Quad Boral Dragons, I think, yeah, 3 Triple Burst Dragons, 2 Borolo Dragons, and then these are the new boss monsters I've been talking about. This is called Topologic Zeroboros. Basically, if you special summon this with 2+ effect monsters, it's the link 4, summon it in the extra monster zone. You cannot special summon other monsters in extra monster zones that this monster points to. And then if any monster that's a link monster has a monster that points to it, while this is on the field, banish all cards on the field. It's a board wipe. It's like Black Rose Dragon, except it takes everything. It's like Locust. It eats everything. And then the next turn after it's done so, it is special summoned. So you can special summon between the monster zones in the middle. So you can't special summon, but then again, if they try to special summon in the extra monster zone, they're screwed because it'll do that again. And then as on top of that, it also gains 200 attack for every banished card. Not sure if it's in the opponent's as well, but definitely yours. I run 2 of those. I would have run 3 because there's always one per, but it's also cool. I run Nightmare Phoenix for kicks. Why not? And then Raid Raptor in case I activate a call. Someone calls Waking the Dragon because it always works for banishment as well. You can bring him out. He's tough to get rid of. And then finally, for the fusion, we have Borreload Furious Dragon. I run 3 of them. And what he does is, you can target one monster you control and one card your opponent controls, destroy them. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target one Dark Link monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it cannot activate its effects this turn. You can only use each effect of Borreload Furious Dragon once per turn. It's really good. So that's my extra deck. Now for the side deck. We have one more Twin Twisters in case we really need it. One more Return of the Dragon Lords. Threatening Roar. Your opponent cannot declare an attack this turn. Pretty good when you don't have anything to use. Just desserts in case your opponent's board is really big with monsters. You can inflict 500 points of direct damage for each of those monsters on the field. Boil Regenerator, we discussed that. Call the Haunted. Rapid Trigger in case we need more. Mirror Launcher, tribute a monster. Gain a Mirror Force from your deck or graveyard. Add it to hand. And then if this is destroyed, set a Mirror Force on the field. Only Mirror Force in quotes, like this. Can't use any other type except that. Fusion Recovery, bring back a Polymerization and a Fusion Material used for a Fusion Summon in your graveyard. Add them to hand. Scrap Iron Scarecrow, if you're attacked once, You can target the attacking monster, negate its attack, and then set it. You can do that once per turn. Like once per turn you can do that. Compulsory activation device. Target one monster in the field. Return that target to the hand. More rapid trigger. I got 2 Waking the Dragon. Basically, if this is banished or sent to the graveyard by card effect, and it's been set, leaves the field and all that, you can special summon any extra deck monster from your extra deck. Special summon it. And then you got 1 Dark Bribe for me. Negate a spell or trap card, and then your opponent draws a card when they activate it. So yeah, that's all. That's all for today. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. And this is Bizzaro signing off.